So you found talent in France and you are looking for a compliant solution to hiring him or her? In this video, we will be discussing the importance of distinguishing between someone working as an employee and someone working as an independent contractor. We will also cover the potential risk associated with a misclassification. Salut, bienvenue, willkommen zu unserem YouTube-Kanal. I'm Daniela Recksiedler from Payroll Pro France, and we provide payroll and HR solutions to international companies like yours. Hiring in a foreign country can be a daunting challenge, especially in a country like France, which is known to offer employees a high level of protection. So some companies may decide to avoid employing staff altogether, instead opting for independent contractors. This might seem to be an inexpensive and convenient solution, however, there are some risks to be considered. One mistake that business owners make is to think they can choose between the two. However, if the individual looks and acts like an employee, then he is an employee. Regardless of what was fixed contractually, it is substance over form. So, what is the definition of an employee and what distinguishes employees from independent contractors? Both employees and contractors perform work and receive a financial compensation for the work. What distinguishes an employee from an independent contractor is the relationship of subordination. Now, what does that mean? A relationship of subordination is defined by the execution of work under the authority of an employer who has the power to give orders and directives, to control the execution, and to sanction the poor execution of orders. Here are some questions that you can ask yourself. Must the individual take instructions as to when, where and how work is to be done? Must the individual give reports of his or her work? Must the individual work set hours, maybe full-time? Must the individual personally perform the contracted service? Does the individual only perform services for your company, or do you maybe even impose that the individual works exclusively for your company? Does your company have the authority to impose consequences when the performance of work is poor? These are just some of the questions that you should ask yourself. It is important to look at the relationship as a whole and to consider all aspects. So, why does it even matter? It matters because the risks associated with the misclassification are quite significant. First of all, employers who misclassify employees as independent contractors are liable for the social security contributions that should have been paid on the wages. So, if during a routine audit French authorities find that the true nature was employment, the company will be requested to pay social contributions, potentially for several past years, potentially with a markup for late payment. Also, the intentional misclassification is actually an offense that can lead to hefty penalties. And even if French authorities don't find out about it, the issue risks to come up when the relationship with the individual comes to an end, regardless of whether it ends in good or in bad terms. The individual can take legal action and claim outstanding payments such as overtime, and if the termination was initiated by the company, the individual can claim payment of a notice period as well as severance payment. On top of this, in France, if the misclassification was intentional, the individual can claim a termination indemnity of 6 months' salary. This indemnity aims to compensate the individual for the loss of rights due to the lack of payment of contributions. It is due regardless of who terminated the engagement. To recap, any misclassification can have significant consequences. That is why it is important to have a thorough understanding of the difference between employees and independent contractors. It is the relationship of subordination that differentiates the two. Again, if the individual looks and acts like an employee, then he is an employee, regardless of what was fixed contractually. It is substance over form. Now that you know the difference between the two, you probably want to know how to stay compliant while hiring remote employees in France. We will answer this question in our next video, in which we will talk about your options of hiring an employee in France, either with or without setting up a legal entity. We will also clear up with the misconception that the only option without a legal entity is an employer of record solution, which actually is not the case. We hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please consider subscribing and activating the notification bell. And if your company is currently seeking to hire an employee in France, please feel free to book a consultation to talk directly to a French expert about your unique case. We will leave the link in the description box. Merci et à très bientôt.